Meanwhile, White House advisor David Axelrod telling the Huffington Post that voters should be wary of Angle and the Tea Party agenda. I saw that. Joe Miller, the Alaska Senate candidate, said that he would abolish Social Security if he had the chance. He's not alone. This is akin to what Sharon Angle has said in Nevada, and also a number of these other Republicans. So this could go one step beyond the policies of the Bush administration to something more extreme than we have seen. Yeah, well, no kidding. Time now to call in senior political reporter for the Huffington Post, AmandaTerkel. Amanda, good evening.
Hi, thanks for having me.
What Mr. Axelrod said is all well and good, but why isn't the White House doing more to drive home that message, and how could they do that if they finally decide to get around to doing it?
The White House is in governing mode, so it doesn't want to alienate conservatives, but I think now what we're seeing the White House doing is saying, look, you may be more conservative than us, but these candidates like Sharon Angle don't really represent your conservative values. Calling for abolishing the Department of Education or cutting back on Social Security, these aren't conservative proposals. These are very radical, and the White House is trying to say, look, if you put these people into office, this is what's going to happen.
To Ms. Angle in particular, if she were a Democrat making those kinds of claims, wouldn't the GOP be demanding that statements like that be retracted? Why hasn't anybody sort of picked up the ball and run with that, and not just on the Harry Reid versus Angle, but on the bigger picture, the national picture?
Well, we have to remember that Sharon Angle and people like Joe Miller, these aren't the candidates the GOP wanted representing them in these races. These were Tea Party-backed candidates. They happened to beat the establishment-backed candidate, so now they're stuck with them, but they're holding them at arm's length, and when they say something more extreme that they don't agree with, they're just sort of looking the other way and hoping that no one notices it. So I think that is what the GOP is trying to do, but we have to remember that we already have a lawmaker in Congress, Michelle Bachmann from Minnesota. She actually said in 2008 that some members of Congress are anti-American, and she called for McCarthyite investigations into them. So we already have this in Washington. Yeah,
she said so on this very network, in fact. As to Governor Brewer and this bizarre continuing saga of the headless bodies out there in the desert, admitting that she misspoke, which is technically not what she did. Misspeak is calling somebody Jan when their name is John or something like that. It's not inventing this story about dead bodies with no heads on them in the Arizona desert. But just acknowledging that it's not true seems to put a hole in one of the arguments for SB 1070. How does SB 1070 survive? I mean, is the next story going to be that there are pterodactyls crossing the Mexico-Arizona border and running off with Buicks in their teeth?
That would certainly be a fun headline, but I mean, Governor Brewer has also said that the majority of undocumented immigrants coming to the United States are bringing drugs. I mean, that's not true. Most are coming here to work. So, she says this law is so necessary in Arizona, but if it's so necessary, why do you have to make up these extreme reasons for the law? I mean, this reminds me of the Iraq War, where the Bush administration said it was a war of necessity, but then they lied and said that there were weapons of mass destruction there.
Is there any coherent Democratic strategy towards dealing with the off-the-wall gang on some sort of national basis? I mean, engage them as if they were not bizarre, or keep them talking until they reveal something? You might call it the Aqua Buddha strategy.
I think what you said, the second point, is what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep them talking. We see a lot of Democratic campaigns beefing up their tracking staff. They are sending staffers with cameras to get on camera every single thing these candidates say, and then we'll try to use it against them. And I think many of these Tea Party candidates are realizing that their off-the-cuff remarks are a liability, which is why we had Jan Brewer, who had that disastrous debate the other day, saying, I'm not doing any more debates now.
Yeah, it's the senior political reporter for the Huffington Post, AmandaTerkel. Great, thanks.
Thank you.